So there's 12 seconds left in the fourth quarter of the deciding Game 7 of the NBA Finals. If you could choose any player from the past or present, who would you choose? Well, for me, it's obvious, Kobe Bryant. Many consider Kareem the Cap, LeBron James the King, or Michael Jordan the greatest player of all time. But still, I choose Kobe Bryant. And I'm going to reveal to you today why I choose Kobe Bryant as the best player to ever step on the court. Now, I'm going to be talking about the ability. I'm going to be talking about the ability. I'm going to be talking about the will and the sheer will. I'm going to be talking about the evolution and the performance of Kobe. So as far as ability goes, I'm talking about what Kobe works with as far as like what he's been given. So Kareem stands at 7'2". LeBron stands at 6'8". The guy's built like a linebacker in the NFL and he's playing basketball. There's no, like, when you look at LeBron, it's like, of course this guy's gonna be a beast. You know, he's gonna get to the bucket anytime he wants. Michael Jordan stood at 6'6", but when you hear Phil Jackson talk about the difference between Michael and Kobe, Phil always talks about Michael's hands. He said they're like baseball mitts. I think they say that Michael has the hands of somebody who stands at 7'9" tall, like big hands. He said that, you know, it would look like a baseball inside Michael's hands. Now that's where I see a big difference for Kobe. Even if you look at the top 5 players who score in the NBA, Kobe is the smallest guy in that list. Now, for him to be that small, he had to work really hard. So this is where I'm going to get into his work ethic. So Kobe, you know, has always been a guy who just worked hard to get where he wanted to be. That goes beyond basketball, but that's another story altogether. So back in 2008 during the Olympics, Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade were waking up, you know, going downstairs for breakfast, and they walked past Kobe, and the guy had ice on his knees. He had woken up 3 hours before everybody to get on the court just to get some practice in. And this just wasn't there, like, so you could say, hey guys, like, look what I'm doing, I'm better than you. And it was nothing like that. This is just who Kobe was. He would do this since high school. He was waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go practice without anybody on the court in high school. That says a lot about him. And this, you know, goes into, you know, his evolution. You know, Kobe was a guy who understood that he had to change his game as he aged. He wasn't, you know, being running from Father Time. Father Time was running from Kobe. So Kobe took it upon himself to say, okay, I'm a perimeter player, but I got to develop different areas, so guys have to guard me differently, and I have all these tricks in my bag. So he would go with guys like Hakeem Olajuwon, who's known as probably the best post player of all time in the NBA, you know, the Dream Shake. Kobe perfected that. For a guard who's 6'6", he's probably the best post player in the NBA. You look at footage of him and you're just thinking to yourself, how can this guy play guys who are centers and just get around them with such ease? So Kobe, as far as this performance, you know, as far as evolution, he not only did this like during the off-season trying to evolve his game, he also did this like during the game. So there was a game against the Dallas Mavericks. This is just one example. And let me actually step back for a second. A lot of players in the NBA can, for the most part, use both hands at the rim. You know, they can either lay up or dunk with either hand, you know, left-handed or right-handed. For Kobe, he's able to shoot a three-pointer with his left hand. So a game against Dallas, he was in the corner, and he was being guarded. When he turned, he pivoted, and there was a guard to his left, so that would put the guard on his right side. So if he turned from a three-point fadeaway shot, the guard would be able to easily block his shot. So what did he do? In a split second, he said, I'm going to shoot this with my left hand. So it goes up with his left, goes in. A left-handed shot, three-pointer. That's just ridiculous. This is just, who Kobe was. He evolved, he developed his game, all based on his instinct. He's the Mamba mentality, this killer instinct to just get it done. And this has pushed him through a lot in the NBA. Even as far as injuries. I mean, there's a lot of guys in today's NBA who people say they're soft. I mean, LeBron's a Laker now. I love the guy, but this guy's not been known to play through injuries. I mean, he sat out a finals game against San Antonio because of leg cramps. Kobe, back in the 2000 NBA Finals, Game 2, twisted his ankle, had to leave the game, had to miss Game 3. Still not, a big point in the series where they could lose. However, Game 4, Shaq got injured, and it was a point where the Lakers really needed somebody to step up. So with Kobe's sprained ankle, came in the game and willed them to victory. And this is not just one of the injuries, but many injuries. Also in 2009, 2010, Kobe tore a ligament in his shooting hand and still went on the remainder of the season. Actually, I think he finished top 5 in scoring that year. And of course, we all remember when Kobe tore his Achilles. So an Achilles injury is one of the biggest injuries you can get. Not even in just sports, but for your life, because that's one of the stabilizers is going to keep you just walking. Kobe tore it. He got up. He was fouled on the play. He got up and he still shot his free throws on a torn Achilles. You can't even walk on a torn Achilles, but he willed himself to the free throw line and he still made it. These are reasons to me why Kobe is the greatest. So I've watched Kobe my whole life. I remember when I was 12 years old, sitting in my room in my parents' house, watching NBA kind of like for the first times on my own. I sat there and it was just kind of meant to be. It was weird because it was Kobe's first game. Didn't know the guy, never heard of him. But I remember Chick Hearn saying, this guy is only 18 years old. Imagine how his parents must feel seeing him in his first NBA game. And I just thought, wow, that's amazing. He said all this, he was at the free throw line. That day is when I fell in love with basketball. I went outside, I didn't even have a basketball court. I just had one point on my driveway. There was like a little outlet that stuck out, and I pretended that was like the basketball court, and I just remember myself shooting all night. Fell in love with basketball that day because of Kobe Bryant. I was fortunate enough to watch Kobe throughout his career. I saw his first 2 free throw shots, his first points in the NBA. And I was fortunate enough to win tickets to Kobe's last game, where he scored 60 points. And it was kind of like a bookend for me. I saw his first 2 points at the free throw line, and I saw his last 2 points at the free throw line in person. I watched Kobe throughout his career. Him being undersized has made me step back and watch games of him going, how does he do that? There's been no other NBA player that I've watched where I'm telling myself, how did he do that? Because Kobe just does things that you can't explain, okay? He not only, proves himself, as far as what points he could put up, as far as, high scoring games, but just his sheer will to lead the team, to get it done, and to get the win. So when you talk about the greats, you can't just look at points, okay? Points, says a lot about somebody, but there's players who've just been in the league for a long time. I mean, Dirk Nowitzki's in the top 10 of NBA scoring, but you don't consider him to be, maybe the top 20 greatest players of all time. Points are one thing. You got to look at the whole picture. You got to look at, of course, the points in there somewhat, but you got to look at what this player did throughout his time to change the game. I think a lot of players look up to Kobe just for his work ethic, and I myself, as a fan, watch him and still say to this day when I look back at highlights, wishing he was still playing, saying, how did he do that? So to me, with his work ethic, with his evolution, with his sheer will to get that Mamba mentality out. Kobe Bryant is the greatest player of all time. Thank you.
All right, all of the delivery stuff is pretty solid. The structure, I think you've got a structure here, but I'm not sure that it's consistent with the way you set it up in the preview. And there sometimes is a little bit of overlap between some of the secondary points. The examples, I thought you have a couple of good examples. There's not really other kinds of research here. You don't have a statistical comparisons that you're doing. You don't have any testimony that you're citing. There's a little bit of factual data, but mostly you're dependent on the examples to illustrate things. And the examples that you pick are ones that you can personally describe in detail, which is fine. That makes them a lot more interesting and useful. I think you need some more information on comparing him to other players. I mean, like when you talked about the physical characteristics, I thought that was pretty solid at the beginning. Like I said, that's some of that factual data that we're dealing with. But we're basically listening to your assessment, and I think that you could get some authority in to support your point as well. So a little underdeveloped in terms of content, but like I said, I think your point was clearly expressed. Your reasoning was explained. The grounds is a little underdeveloped. The presentation is solid. All right, thank you.